Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program on a very cold and wet morning here in Johannesburg. It's winter, good people, so we need to be prepared for the freezing weather. And of course, the weather services have also warned us about widespread snowfall across the country and have also suggested that tomorrow morning we might get snow here in Gauteng. So, of course, the message is loud and clear. Keep warm and keep safe. It is 18 after 8 o'clock on this cold and wet Monday morning in my part of the world. It's the 9th of June 2025. This is News and Views on Salam Media. Welcome. Wonderful to have you on the show. And our first guest is Dr. Oscar van Heerden. He's a senior research fellow at the Center for African Diplomacy and Leadership at UJ. And we're going to be looking at the Trump's travel ban on 12 countries. It goes into effect early Monday morning. And I think they're a couple of hours ahead of us. So it probably has been put into effect already. The repercussions to this and how are the countries that are affected going to respond? Or are these third world countries who don't have the muster to actually take Trump on? Let's hone in and let's get deep insights into this matter with Dr. Oscar van Heerden. A very good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Julian. Good morning to your listeners.
Okay, so we understand that Trump's travel ban ignites global outrage. And of course, there's also the issue with the fallout with Elon Musk. That situation, of course, is regarding the tax bill. So if we look at the situation and we take it at face value regarding the countries impacted by this travel ban, and on the other hand, we look at Elon Musk's role as being an advisor to Trump. How does these two situations come together?
I don't think they do come together. I think the current tussle that's happening between Trump and Elon Musk, it's a separate matter. I don't think that this travel ban is informed by the current bill that is being placed in front of Congress. So I don't see the link at all. However, we do know that Elon Musk and co were obviously whispering in Trump's ear with regards to the lies and the falsehoods around South Africa, with regards to white genocide, the so-called white genocide, and farm killings, targeted farm killings, and so forth. And we also know that Trump's attitude towards Africa, very expletives that he used in his first term, referring to African countries and so on. So it comes as no surprise that 7 of the 12 countries are from the continent. And I do think that there's need for some introspection in terms of the allegations that are being made against these countries.
I like the response by the president of Chad. He says that he has instructed his government to stop granting visas to US citizens. This is in response to Trump's action, not that it would make any impact on US citizens, because he goes on to say that their country neither has planes nor billions of dollars to give to Trump. But he also goes on to say that our country has its dignity and its pride. This was in a Facebook post. And he says that countries such as Qatar, which gifted the US a luxury airplane for Trump's use and promised to invest billions of dollars in the US. I think that was very noble on his part. But of course, even him having made those remarks, neither gains him further disrespect or dismissal from Trump, because Chad is a poor country. They don't really have anything to offer any other foreign country, apart from obviously the minerals that their country does have. And of course, as we know, Western countries are always on the lookout to exploit third world countries to get as much as they can out of these countries as regarding their natural minerals.
Yeah, I mean, I think, according to the Vienna Convention, countries are allowed within diplomacy for reciprocity. And I think that's the option that Chad has taken. I don't think that that's necessarily the best course of action. Especially when you are dealing with the largest economy in the world. You would have seen, Julie, that when those falsehoods and lies were being spread by the Trump administration and Trump himself with regards to South Africa, South Africa sought an audience with the United States, with Trump's administration, to try and clarify, to try and indicate the position of South Africa with regards to these matters. And I think that, these countries are also supposed to try and have a relationship with the United States. Look, Trump is making very specific allegations around the export of terrorism, around overstays on visas, and so on and so forth. And I think, as I said earlier, these countries has to do some introspection. The knee-jerk reaction is that it's racist, that it's Islamophobic, and so on and so forth. But the truth is that Trump would have taken this decision informed by the State Department of Marco Rubio, Homeland Security, as well as the Central Intelligence Agency, all saying that these are concerns that they have about these countries. Now, I think that Chad, Somalia, and others that find themselves on the list will have to look at those issues and not just dismiss them. Are our citizens overstaying their visas? What amount of terrorist or extremist in recent years has been going to the United States or elsewhere in Europe and so forth? It's questions that they have to tackle, that they have to deal with, so that they have some ammunition when they engage with the Trump administration to say, these are not true, these are falsehoods, these are the facts, and so on and so forth. The African Union, for example, has called for evidence to be provided with these allegations. I'm not sure the Trump administration is going to oblige. They will take their own decisions. But I do think that Chad has the right internationally and in terms of international conventions to have reciprocity. I just don't know if it is the best course of action at this point in time.
Okay, as you indicated, it is a comment against the largest superpower in the world. But when we look at the issue around migration globally, it is a huge problem. It's not only the US that is sitting with this problem. And mainly, we do know that it's economic migration. People are leaving their countries because of poverty and joblessness and other such issues. And of course, the US being supposedly advanced on so many fronts, including technology and other fronts, they could very easily check out who is, in fact, a terrorist and who is there for economic reasons. But like I've indicated, it is a global problem. And of course, the other problem added to the migration situation is the undocumented immigrants that causes an extra burden, not only to other countries, but we know in our own country as well. We're sitting with a huge problem as far as health services, education, housing, etc. is concerned. That being said, how do you suppose other countries are going to respond? We do know that the Afghanistani people are saying, very especially those that served the Americans at the time of their occupation in Afghanistan, they're very concerned because a lot of those people are now fearing that they're going to be deported back to Afghanistan, stating that they will be met with severe punishment once they get sent back home.
Yeah, I think, Julie, we have to be honest that Trump and the Trump administration don't care about these concerns. They don't care about people wanting to seek asylum and refugee status. We know, for example, the Trump administration has halted and stopped all immigration and refugee and asylum seekers from coming to the United States. Trump is simply not interested in the sad stories that the Afghanistan people or people from Africa is wanting to highlight. We are seeing a right-wing conservative government that is wanting to put a stop to all forms of immigration, including people that are already in the United States being mass deported back to their countries, particularly Latin America and others, and others being accused of various crimes and being shipped off to El Salvador to a prison campsite and so forth. So the breaking of international law continues. We saw, the Americans, the ordinary citizens are so shocked and surprised that Trump is now not wanting to adhere to some of the rulings of the Supreme Court, but they forget they allowed that kind of situation to take place when during the Obama administration the court ruled that Guantanamo Bay prison camp must be closed down, and those detainees needs to follow due process. It hasn't happened till today. And it was okay then, according to many Americans, because it was about their safety. Now the tables are turning on them as citizens, and they are finding it difficult to actually accept that the administration and the courts can now clash in the manner in which we see it unfolding.
How do you suppose these actions are going to impact on the American people's psyche, number one, and also their fears regarding their constitution, their Bill of Rights, and everything that allows them the security and the freedom of being in the supposed number one democratic country in the world. And everything that's playing out now goes against the grain of those fundamental principles. As you and I speak, we also know that there's a trouble brewing. We've seen the flare-up in, was it Los Angeles, with the Latino community regarding deportations and separation of families, to the point that Trump actually called in the National Guard. And that was a very heavy-handed stance on his part. How is this all going to play out? And that Latino community was the very community, the majority of them, that actually voted him into power. They were expecting a different outcome. And look what's happening now. It's working totally against them.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that things are going to get worse under the Trump administration. So there's going to be more and more domestic strife within the United States, because Trump is wanting to play to his supporters, the Make America Great Again supporters, white conservative, right wing elements. But as you say, the majority of people did vote in those communities for Trump, hoping for a different outcome. They didn't think that it was going to directly affect them negatively, and now it is. And I see the strife continuing within the United States. Also, the United States, for many decades, rightfully so, was seen as a refuge where people can go and live through the American dream, can go and improve their conditions of employment, and so on and so forth. The United States, for example, was always very attractive to the rest of the world for students from all over the world, including Africa, to go to the great renowned universities, Ivy League universities in the US and so forth. That itself is now being threatened because there's a tax on the universities. I think that this travel ban is also going to mean that students, potential learners from those countries, will now no longer be able to come to the United States, and they will look around and go elsewhere in the world, and other countries are going to benefit from them, whereas the US is not. We know, for example, that sporting events, international sporting events, are also going to be negatively impacted because next year the America hosts the FIFA World Cup. What does it say about the supporters the athletes and officials will be allowed according to the Trump administration, but not the supporters from those countries. Iran, for example, has already qualified for the World Cup, but apparently no Iranian supporters are going to be allowed to come and support their team. So there's that kind of negative impact. So all in all, we're seeing a continuation of an isolationist policy that is being imposed on the United States by the Trump administration to disconnect from the world on all levels and all fronts, to look internally in terms of trying to solve the internal domestic problems of the United States. As to whether that is going to work in such a globalized world, such an interconnected world, we will have to wait and see.
Okay, they have, obviously, the Americans have their own problems as well. Blacks are still largely discriminated. A lot of them do live in ghetto type of situations. And the same can be said for other minority groups like, well, I wouldn't say Latinos are minority, but they are large in numbers in America. In the United States, but other minority groups from Africa and Middle Eastern countries. This type of thinking by the Trump administration, given what you've indicated about their inward looking stance, do you think it's going to then appease the larger majority of the right wing conservatives, and very especially the poor whites in America, because they too make the biggest noise and they too are big supporters of Trump because they have issues around job security and such issues as well. How is that all going to then play out? And what's the impact going to be like?
You know, the kind of promises that Trump has made to that constituency is just going to take too long to actually find a positive outcome. For years and decades, the manufacturing base of the United States have moved to the Far East, not only China, Vietnam, and other countries, Indonesia, Singapore, and so forth. And that is just going to be impossible to reverse. You know,
Okay,
what
do you
the
think, can I interrupt you here? Do you think that that is the plan, the master plan by the Trump administration, wanting to create a bigger blue collar workforce, bringing all of those type of jobs back into the states and appeasing those voters?
Absolutely. That has been the campaign trail of the Trump administration. It's to say to iPhone, to Apple, to all kinds of industries that you must, car manufacturers and so forth, that the manufacturing base must return to America so that more jobs can be created for the average American. We know, for example, the average American is working 2 to 3 jobs just to keep head above water. And those are the ones that are employed. And this is why they voted for Trump. They voted for Trump because they voted for change. They wanted something different. As to whether Trump is going to be able to deliver, it's not going to happen. This is a reality. Trump is not going to be able to deliver on those promises. And hence, I'm saying that the strife is going to get worse in the United States. The tariffs have completely backfired. As soon as Trump slapped 145% tariffs on China, China did only one thing, not many. It stopped the buying of soybeans, and it hit the American market to the tune of billions lost.
Sure.
Those farmers in the Middle America, Trump supporters, are now not sure about their business and their exports. China is not interested. They're now buying the soybeans from Brazil. And as I say, that's one example. China has a few other cards up its sleeve, and so do other countries. The world has become so integrated. The world that Trump thinks is so reliant on the United States is over, long gone. And now,
And
with the weaponization of trade, with the weaponization of the US dollar, countries like BRICS and others are beginning to move away from those weaponized trade, weaponized dollar, and so forth. So the change, the sea change that is taking place internationally, Trump is not going to be able to reverse it or stop it. In fact, I think I'll go as far as to say the only option open for Trump is all-out war. He's going to take out bigger and bigger sticks and is going to try and beat countries into submission. And unfortunately for him, that is also not going to work.
Because people are going to push back. I think gone are the days that the smaller countries, very especially in the third world as well, just accepted everything very meekly via the white masters, the white imperialists, the Western imperialists. And to add insult to injury, Trump is promising his supporters and all of America that he's going to stand for another term as well, which, according to their rules, a president can only serve two terms. Am I right? Yep.
Yeah,
So
you see,
he's threatening. He's threatening that he's going to stand again. Your thoughts on that, and then we move on to this divorce between him and Elon Musk.
Yeah. I think there's some uncertainty, ambiguity, I should say, with regards to whether it is two successive terms. In most countries, I don't know what it says in the US Constitution, but in most countries, when they talk of you can only serve two terms, they mean successive terms. So,
Okay.
so for example, if there was a break and the person wants to return, I'm not sure whether that rule then still applies. And this is what I think scholars and experts should be talking about. We look at, for example, in Russia. There's many examples, but in Russia, Vladimir Putin had served two 7-year terms, and then he then moved out of the position. Medvedev came in as the new president for 7 years, and an election was held, and Putin returned. And as a result, he can now serve another 2 terms. So I would want to suggest, I would want to think that that is the situation in the United States. It's not that if you've served a term and there's been a break and you serve another term, then it's taken as if you've served 2 terms and therefore cannot continue. I think this is something that the Trump people are playing with, and we'll have to watch this space to see whether he's going to stand, of course. But
All
I
right,
also
let's
want
wrap
to
up.
say, I also want to
Yes.
say, Julie, that you remember the system is such that there's going to be your midterms in the next 2 years.
Yes.
So I do think if we follow the current trends and look at the current statistics, polls and so forth, Trump is likely to lose the House. So the majority in Congress will become Democrat again. And that does mean that there's going to be some kind of control over the presidency, control that at the moment they don't have.
Okay, let's wrap up now and look at this divorce between Trump and Elon Musk. It was too, that marriage seemed too good to be true, didn't it?
No, look, I mean, it's 2 billionaires. They clearly love each other. The bromance was working for them. Trump loves powerful, wealthy people. He surrounds himself with them, and so it was obvious that they would like each other. And what we've discovered, to our surprise, was that Elon also shared some fairly conservative, fairly racist views, which fed into the bigger MAGA project, hence the billions that he pumped into the presidential campaign for Trump, and so on and so forth. So it was something that was working. But I think that, the arrogance and Elon having to ended up being the bad guy. Because remember, regardless of who they appointed to run with the Doge Department of Efficiency, it was going to be the baddie. No one likes someone who comes and fires them from their jobs in government, pulls back aid from the international scene, affecting millions of people in healthcare, in education, and other areas. He was bound to be the baddie. And as a result, it was a temporary measure. We all knew that it's not going to be a permanent thing, that is not going to be in the Trump administration for 4 years. And so now that he's the baddie and he has that element of arrogance, a chip on his shoulder, and so forth, he's the scapegoat by many Republicans. He's now seen as the big baddie. And I think Added to that, the drug abuse allegations that are there, I think Trump had to let him go. The thing that now obviously upset the whole thing was the new tax bill that Trump is trying to get through, which directly affects the electric vehicle industry, which means Tesla. Elon Musk's business is being affected negatively. And I think that's what caused the rift. I do think that at some level, Republicans and others in the business world is going to make sure that Trump and Musk smooth things over behind the scenes. It's not good for the Republican Party. It's not good for government. And also the interconnectedness between Elon Musk's other businesses, such as SpaceX and Starlink. It's too integrated into the
Close.
military industrial complex. So I don't think there's going to be large scale cancellations of contracts at all.
Okay.
The Pentagon is simply not going to allow it.
And that's where we have to leave it. I'll call it the clash of two narcissists and leave it at that. Dr.
Indeed.
Oscar van Heerden, thank you indeed for being with us on the show. Always a pleasure chatting to you. You have such deep insights, and I love picking your brain. So till the next time, as always, stay safe. God bless.
Thank you.
It is exactly 8:44 news and views on Salam Media with me, Julie Ali, this Monday morning. Our next guest is standing by, and he is, of course, Dr. Vusi Sibanda. We'll take him in a minute or two, so please stay with us.